everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Nina's Chelsea Corner. If you're new around here, it's time for another Blues transfer news video because Chelsea have obviously signed Renato Vega from Basel and have also refreshed interest in the prospect of another striker called Samu Omorodion, who plays for Atletico but has been out on loan. We'll talk about all the news that there is, but firstly, as an England fan, I must say, I am absolutely thrilled that England have made it to the semi-finals of the Euro 2024. Wow, it was not easy. It was, at times, I said, like watching Chelsea this tournament. England just frustrated me, but exciting. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to let the negativity go. Ultimately, a win's a win. Ugly or not, difficult or not, we're through, and I'm really happy. So obviously Netherlands next, but if you're an England fan, what a night. Let me know how you feel. And if you're not an England fan, let me know how you feel. But yeah, guys, let's get into the Chelsea news because obviously Vega is now a Chelsea player. It's a 14 million fee that's been signed, and there's no sell-on clause, which means if we were to sell him, we can make up exactly the 100% that we paid for him, which is obviously good. So in terms of the risk factor element, perhaps it's not as risky as other signings, and he does seem to be quite exciting. Versatile, tall, offers a lot of height, can play left back, left centre back, can play in midfield, and Enzo Maresca has made it clear that he obviously loves to play fullbacks kind of as inverted, as we saw Marco Cucurella be used towards the end of last season under Poch, which seemed to work magic. He was probably playing some of his best football in that position. And obviously Marco Cucurella has been lighting it up for Spain at the Euros as well. So you have to be happy for him. But there is obviously a need to address the elephant in the room. And if Vega is coming in and he is potentially going to be playing in that role, it probably does call for one of those two, in Marco Cucurella or Ben Chilwell, to be moved on. And now, when we signed Marco Cucurella, it wasn't a cheap fee. If you remember, 65 million, we got him from Brighton, and he didn't exactly kick the season off very well in his first year at Chelsea. And we said, okay, we're still yet to see and justify the fee we paid for him. We must let him play. And he didn't for a lot of large parts of last season. We saw Levi Colwill start as a left back. I think obviously Cucurella was injured at one point, but he then played and occupied that role. Had it not been for Ben Chilwell to be injured last season, that probably wouldn't have really happened. But desperate times called for desperate measures, and it's exactly why Cucurella ended up being that kind of first pick, and he really lived up to the expectations. Now, we still would like to see more. We still would like that justified. We want to see him be a regular player and carry that form through into next season for us. He deserves and has shown that it warrants for him to start, be first pick, and we are of course leaning more towards the idea, or rather the impression, that Ben Chilwell is probably going to be the one who is going to get moved on. Now, Ben Chilwell has divided opinion for a long time, which is bizarre to think, because having realised how few or little players we have left from that old Chelsea, if we can still say that, old Chelsea, and not even that old, we're talking probably the Champions League winning team, which was stripped apart and completely dismantled. Not many faces left, and it seems that one more could potentially go. So Ben Chilwell has been absolutely phenomenal for us at his best. He's been crucial, under Thomas Tuchel. Reece James and Ben Chilwell, arguably our most important players, and reason for us to succeed as much as we did, particularly in our Champions League winning campaign. But unfortunately, injury has been one thing that has really hindered Ben Chilwell. And as much as I love him, guys, as much as sentiment in me is telling me, oh no, he'll be back to what he used to be, injuries won't be overarching his season next season, it's yeah, it's not likely, is it, guys? You have to look at the history, and the history is telling you that history repeats itself, because it's not been a case of just one injury. We've seen him become fit again, and then we've seen him be injured again, and he's out for ages. So he's no longer reliable, and we've seen that he does struggle when he comes back. I know he was sort of played out of position the few minutes he was available last season, utilised as a left winger, which I'm not too sure he really enjoyed. But in terms of what he can offer both offensively and defensively, it's not quite the same. And lots of people say, okay, but if you're going to use that excuse for selling Ben Chilwell, then surely you've got to use the same and potentially carry that through with the other side, with Reece James. And now what I'd say to that is, I hear that it's a valid point, because Reece James equally has not been fit and available. We've been very lucky to have an absolutely informed Malo Gusto in his first season at Chelsea, who has basically lit it up for us. No doubt about it. But unfortunately, with Reece James, is that even when he's back, he now still offers like the same level of like offensively and defensively, if that makes sense. Whereas with Ben Chilwell, I think he now has lacked that in the last minutes and games he's had for Chelsea. We saw Reece James return on his first game and assist a winner. Instant impact again. And again, I know that it's probably unfair, because Reece James also has big question marks surrounding his availability. But I just would say that from what we do have now, with Malo Gusto being such a fit second choice, right? With a fully fit Reece James, and we've got Malo Gusto in that space, we still equally would like to have that on the left. And at the moment, we don't, because it's just Marc Cucurella and Ben Chilwell. But with Vega coming in and potentially being able to occupy that role, we've got a solid kind of pair there. And I mentioned Malo Gusto. My dream last season was to have an equivalent of Malo Gusto out on the left. Literally, can we clone him and just make him a left back? And Vega has the potential to be that. From, the few moments and things I've seen from him, his profile and his CV does say that he can be that guy for you. And again, we haven't had much height in our back line. With the arrival of like your Tozins and your Vegas, we're now adding that, so it could potentially be a real game changer for us, when defending set pieces, when winning aerial duels and going for those aerial duels. It is exactly what we need. So hopefully, again, this could be a really exciting signing. And obviously, Enzo Maresca is having a bit of a say in this in this transfer. Of course he is. It fits his system. And happily, we're going in for somebody who costs less. Obviously, we missed out. I mean, I'm not going to say we missed out, because I'm not too sure how serious we were in for Riccardo Colafiori anyway. He is most likely going to Arsenal, but even still, am I gutted? No, not really, because I said this, I'm not too bothered, guys, and I'm not interested in beating Arsenal for a signing. Frankly, that's not a sensible way to look at things, is it? I always wanted Chelsea to go in for a player we needed, and Vega fits that profile. So let's see. It's going to be interesting. He seems like a very serious player. Again, versatile, multi-positional, exactly what we need. So very much welcome. I am eager to find out your thoughts, though. Let me know in the comments down below what you rate this signing. Obviously, Chelsea have been busy, and it's not one that was particularly discussed, rumoured, talked about. It kind of just popped out of the blue, and we were like, okay, fair enough. I see the vision here, right? But let's talk about Samu Omorodion, who is a Spanish striker, plays for Atletico, has been out on loan, doesn't really have much experience, and we do understand that Atletico have been rejecting our bids, and it seems that we are quite serious about this one. And why, do we ask? And now again, this is a signing I'm just not too sure about. Why do we need him? What do we need him for? Is he meant to be a backup to Jackson? Will Mark Gee even get any minutes? Is he for depth? What is he for? I am not too sure, guys. And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you or pretend like I've watched this player. He could have potential for days. However, does potential for days cost 50, 60, 70 million nowadays? We should have learned from our lessons, right, guys? So I'm, again, not too sure here. I thought we would be going down the experience avenue. Does he have that? And with Mark Gee, I said, fine, perfect. 5 million. He's a low-risk signing. He seems pretty decent. You can get behind a signing like that, right? But when it's exceeding this much money, and he arguably has less La Liga experience, if any at all, than Nicholas Jackson does, then yeah, you do worry about that. But then the thing that kind of makes me go a little bit like, oh, is that Atletico obviously don't really want to let this player go for cheap either, rejecting bids. So they value him quite highly. But yeah, talks have been renewed. He was obviously thrown in there kind of 2 weeks ago, and when we were kind of going in for John Duran, kind of not, he popped out there in and around. So that's why I'm struggling to figure out what type of profile we're now going for. You know, we want someone experienced. The next thing we're doing is going for someone that's not too experienced. Then we're signing someone who's not got much experience but could play. There are minutes available. That's the thing next season. You know, there are going to be minutes available. But one thing that Fabrizio Romano said that could somewhat affect this whole striker situation is that we are going to test and see what Christopher Nkunku can do as a striker over pre-season. Now, that's not his natural position, and I was not very happy to see him play there when he returned from injury after we were so patiently waiting for him. He was very isolated, didn't really do much, but obviously in Enzo Maresca's system, he could potentially be playing as that striker, but then I'm not too sure. Is he going to be competing with Nicholas Jackson? Because then again, we've got wingers enough wingers there to compete for those spots. Where do you fit, you know, in Nkunku and Jackson and obviously Palmer, and then if you're playing a left winger as well, you know, your Mudryks, your Sterlings, it's obviously a lot, right? So we've signed Mark Gill, and if we're potentially going in for Samu as well, how and where and why, right? And it made me laugh because I saw somewhere, it was somebody somewhere wrote that he was being compared to a future Diego Costa. And it made me giggle because when we signed Datro Fofana, he was described to be the next Didier Drogba. So, you know, these names and the name drops are kind of just chucked in there for a little bit extra dramatic effect, but really it does not mean anything. Simply put. Let me know what you guys think though. Maybe I've not watched him, maybe I'm just deluded, maybe I'm looking just too surface level with the signing, but should we spend this much money on this player? Let me know what you guys think. I'll be interested to know. But guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit that thumbs up button. If you're watching and you've watched this video and you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. What are you doing? And of course, as always, leave your comments down below. I'm interested to know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.